And I'm sure you do remember that some time ago, President Bola Tinubu made the pronouncement that anyone carrying arms, by any name you call it, bandit, kidnapper, criminal, armed robber, whatever, everybody is named a terrorist. And by that, the security forces will act to treat them as such that all this nonsense criminality, especially in the northern part of Nigeria, will be gone. There was a time, I think about a month or two ago, there was a lot of scare across the country, especially because kidnappings were now happening as close, let me say as close by as Kwara and in parts of Ogun State. Even parts of Lagos, we hear of those things, and people got scared. Over the years, the Nigerian troops have been battling insurgency in the northern parts of the country, and we had schools attacked, children kidnapped, especially girls. Even boys also were attacked by Boko Haram terrorists and ISIS-affiliated groups, splinter groups, or what have you. So that's what we're going to be talking about this morning. How effective has our counterinsurgency operations been? And what are the things that we've done in the past that we should keep doing? What are the things we've done in the past that we should shelve and change? How better should our security architecture be? Are we really winning, as the security forces say that we are? All those questions will be answered this morning. Well, there will be an attempt to answer them as best as possible. And in the studios with us today, we have Oyiwo Ogini, a senior researcher at the Bonn International Center for Conflict Studies. He joins us virtually. Thank you for joining us today. We also have a retired Major General Cecil Esehaigbe. He's a security expert. He also joins us this morning. And we also have consulting specialist, African Resource Development Center, Adebayo Oluwake, who also joins us this morning. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Let me start by the way that I made the introductions. Mr. Ogini, in your years of research, in the areas of security and development issues, how would you assess our fight against insurgency? It's been, a long time, over a decade that we've been having this problem. What would you say to the fight against insurgency in Nigeria, and how the way at which we're carrying it out?
Thank you very much for having me this morning. I think it's what we've been discussing over and over a long period of time. As you just rightly mentioned, over 15 years that we've been dealing with the maintenance of security issue in Nigeria. What from my assessment, from the soft campaign by the non-state armed group up to the extent of infiltrating to expand their network and become so strong to the extent that they are possessing some weapons like armed drone and others, to the extent they are advancing their technology. I think it's a reflection to say that they continue to change irrespective of approach that is adopted by the government. In terms of kinetic approach, which has to do much more with the military on the boot on the ground, of course, there are times when the momentum was very high and the morale also among the security forces was very high, and they were able to take this battle to the armed group, whether ISWAP or JAS in the northwest, or Lakrawa, Jinim affiliated, Al-Qaeda affiliated in the northwest, or the emergence one. But what is very important to take note is that while this kinetic approach can be assessed as a temporary measure, which send this armed group off the balance. I would like to say that it's not sufficient, and that's why we keep seeing that whenever there's a military operation somewhere, it crop up elsewhere, another dimension crop up elsewhere. From banditry, transformation from banditry into jihadist insurgency from the northwest and also from the north central, as you can see. So these are the dynamics that are unfolding. So I think what is important to note is that as much as we want to have boots on the ground to tackle this, the non-kinetic approach, which has to do with a strong community reduction strategy, violence reduction strategy, alongside with strengthening local capacity, are things that we are still battling with, and that is why the resurgence of this violence will continue for a short time, as long as that has not been addressed.
Okay, let me still stay with you. You talked about non-kinetic approach. Very recently, we had the Katsina State government do like a swap program where about 70 bandits were, there's a proposal to free them, or if they've been freed. Do you think that this is part of a non-kinetic program, or this kind of approach is the right approach to use when dealing with this sort of criminality in the northwestern part of the country?
Yeah, thank you very much again. I think I said this before. I was in Katsina in the field, and I actually see also a kind of various negotiation taking place, not just only with the state government, even at the local level. So there are these party sort of negotiation taking place. What is not, going wrong is the fact that we have more than 150 different armed groups present in the Northwest. So if you negotiate with one group, another group come in. And from our research and constant investigation, what we observe is that these bandits, they actually use that to buy time, to infiltrate into the community, to recruit more, and that continues. I can give you an instance from 2 local governments in Katsina where such negotiation take place at the low-level politics and medium-level politics, which enable them to be able to operate. The agreement was just that we will not attack your area, but we can attack other areas. So in such instances, we do not contain the violence in the reality. So, and that's why it becomes very difficult to, if you are negotiating with somebody, you negotiate with somebody who have the organization structure, which you can identify that this is the only area they cover, and you know that they have control over other subordinates. And this is not the case with bandits. So it becomes very complicated, and it can even make it worse somewhere. I can tell you, for example, in the case of Sokoto and Kebbi, when I was in Sokoto last time in Tangaza, where U.S. strike took place, and then from the other side, you can see that the bandits operating at the fringe of Sokoto, which actually is result from the Samfara side before the Lakwarawa issue came in, you can see also there's some sort of negotiation at the low level, but that does not prevent them from operating and expanding their focus in those areas, especially in the Ilela area, the Tangasa side, before Lakwarawa came into that side. And now we have also in Arugugun and the other side in Kebbi State.
Right. Yeah, thanks. Mr. Oluwake, if I can bring you in here. We've talked about, the underlying issues. Do we have Mr. Oluwake with us?
Maybe not just yet. Let's take on the general.
Yeah.
General, one of the things that must really interest you is the position of the U.S. in Nigeria that seems to have some kind of philosophical change. I say that in respect of the fact that the U.S. has committed some $413 million counterinsurgency resources through AFRICOM into Nigeria and West Africa. How do you, what's your perception of that? On the one hand, the U.S. was saying they were going to come in guns a-blazing, and now they're supporting Nigeria's security initiatives. What are your thoughts, General? General, we can't hear you. Could you kindly unmute, please?
Okay, can you hear me now, Ayo?
Much better. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Yes, in strategic partnership, a lot of calculations come to play. For instance, the U.S. Intervention in the 25th of December, has its own, ups and downs. For example, the positive side is that, it has sent a message to the complex emergent groups that, look, there are some serious consideration and some efforts are coming in internationally, to assist Nigeria in tackling the menace. Also, this is that it boosts the morale of the Nigerian troops who have a sagging morale because of, the surge in conflict and the attendant consequences. So, on the other hand, it has to also be properly managed because some people look at sovereignty and also look at the framing of the President of America's language that they are targeting a group of ISIS workers who are anti-Christians or who are targeting Christians. So there must be proper conceptual definitions to understand. And don't understand, let me also make it clear that it takes a lot of logistic planning for another country to come into Nigeria to be able to strike these insurgents. You need a lot of intelligence sharing. You need coordination between the host country and the intervening country. So some of these things are very difficult, and it also has a tolling effect on the intervening country. So there are many other ways which they can support, apart from coming to strike, the targets and all that. One is intelligence sharing. Two, support with equipment. Three, some other financial aid to aid the Nigerian government and its military in this serious attempt to contain the security menace.
Right. So let me continue from that. We talked about, I'm still addressing you, General. What issues do you think should be expanded and dealt with now that the U.S. has softened its stance and is ready to collaborate and partner with Nigeria to address these security issues? Suddenly, we don't hear of the fact that it's a Christian genocide anymore, but that is a general insecurity matter that refuses to go away no matter how hard the country is fighting. So what are the broader issues do you think that we should be looking at and dealing with? And I'm asking that from the fact that you have years of experience being in the military.
Yes, number one is strategic communication. First of all, knowing the problem and defining it as it is. For example, when you listen to Trump, President Trump, saying that these ISWAP or these insurgent groups are targeting Christians, there is need for the government of Nigeria to correct that impression that this insurgent target both Muslim and Christians. So we must isolate the religious connotation so that we'll be able to have a concerted effort in tackling the insecurity. Two, we must be able to win the confidence and trust of the populace, letting them understand that the assistance that is coming in from foreign countries is to help to fight, and that securing their lives and their property is more important than other ethnic consideration. Three, the government must also let the citizens know that these people are coming in for strategic partnership, not that they are not able to do what they are supposed to do. So these are communications that need to be strategically, put forward, so that there will be no, issue of, people defining the concept in their own terms, bringing in ethnic consideration, and also talking of sovereignty when you do not have, the real substance of what sovereignty is supposed to be. Like I said in this studio for many times, that once this thing is getting out of your hands, there is no shame in asking for external support, because all you want is for you to be able to secure your country. It doesn't downplay your sovereignty, where there is a strategic partnership. So all we need to get on board to work together with willing partners for us to have a success story in these complex emergencies.
Right. Mr. Aloake, I believe you can hear me now. The general talked about communication and what have you, and winning the confidence and trust of the populace. We do know that in time past, we've talked about how these kidnappers and these terrorists infiltrate communities. Some even promise them protection from other attackers if they work with them, also if they allow them to live amongst them. So to what extent is Nigeria addressing the underlying socio-economic issues such as poverty and unemployment? Because this is one of the ways the terrorists infiltrate the people. They cash in on the fact that they don't have much education, they're unemployed, they don't have food on their tables, and so they make a lot of promises to them. If you do this, we'll do this for you.
Thank you. I believe that the general population in Nigeria would agree that we have governance challenges. Some are structural. I think most of them are just because we are not making enough effort to correct those governance challenges. We also have what you would call ungoverned spaces. We have so much ungoverned space, which allows for infiltration by opportunist groups. And as we have seen, we have had all these insurgents. I think for me, we should just be frank and just label these groups as insurgents in order to properly categorize the application of force that will be delivered, to dealing with the problem. And so we know what we are dealing with. So these ungoverned spaces are easily filled up. And the worrisome part is that we not only have ungoverned spaces across the vast expanse of our borders, we also have ungoverned spaces even in our cities. If I give you an example, if you look in some parts of Lagos, you hardly see the police. And I'm going to address that shortly. You hardly see the police. Area boys have taken over everywhere. If you go to Lagos Island, most part of Lagos Island, you are going to have to surrender to the dictates of area boys. We are allowing some parts of our territory to become ungoverned spaces, not just in these far distant places, but even within cities. This has to be addressed. The state must enforce its authority. The state must impose a complete sovereign will. And when you do that, you are now going to be able to effectively address governance gaps. If local government chairmen are not in their local government, if all they do is collect allocation and disappear, you are going to have challenges in the areas where the local governments are supposed to exercise full authority. So I think that to address the economic and socioeconomic challenges, the state must first enforce its full sovereignty and dominate its entire geopolitical area. So in addition to dealing with the economic challenges that create for opportunists to recruit insurgents, to indoctrinate them and to unleash them on society, I think we also need to do certain things. Permit me to cite the unfortunate Nigerian Civil War, but there's something I want to bring out. During the Nigerian Civil War, the Biafran side and the Nigerian side were very effective in mobilizing the population. Both sides mobilized their population effectively behind the war effort. Those old enough would remember that on the Nigerian side, there was a slogan: to keep Nigeria one is a task that must be done. I have not seen I don't know whether it's the Ministry of Information or the Social Mobilization Department of that ministry, throughout the better part of this counterinsurgency effort, mobilizing the entire nation behind this operation. There's nothing like that. And that sometimes will make you, and even some of our foreign partners, to consider whether we are actually serious. Secondly, we trained mobile police force which was set up by the first Prime Minister, Tafawa Balewa, to deal with riots. Okay? Now, the mobile police force gets very good training, not just to deal with riots, but to deal with some level of insurgency. We also train from the police what we call the terrorism units. But what happened to them? We posted them out on VIP escort duties, almost 150,000 of them, when we have serious insurgency facing the country. So it's very positive that the president withdrew these police officers and has refused, to change his decision. I think this is a decision in the right direction. The problem now is, how are we redeploying these police officers? I stand to be corrected, but I haven't seen anything, at least in Lagos where I am. What I have seen is, we have seen a lot more police officers on roads, which is good, but how are we using these police officers? This is what the Inspector General has to address, because for me, they must be able to relieve the military in areas where the military has pacified, so that it frees up more troops to face the bulk of the other problems.
It's interesting that my apologies, Mr. Oluwake. It's interesting that you just spoke about relieving the military, because there are those who feel that that even though we are doing our best as a nation to relieve the military, the entire security apparatus, is still questionable. Some are saying, for instance, in the wake of the removal or delisting of Nigeria from the counterterrorism and insurgency, the financial money laundering and terrorism financing list of the EU, there are those who are wondering whether or not, we are doing the necessary, all that is necessary, because financial reforms can earn international approval. But as you noted, security governance at home remains deeply flawed, as evidenced by dependence on military backing, or maybe even external military backing. Now, speaking about that, in that same vein, effective terrorism, we understand, effective counterterrorism financing frameworks are themselves a governance tool in the fight against insurgency funding. But what is your take on that, perhaps particularly with regard to the fact that now that Nigeria has been delisted and the U.S. is softening its stance against Nigeria, from coming in guns a-blazing to giving us some $413 million along with some other West African countries for anti-terrorism and all of that? Where do you see us going? Do you see us as a nation having the infrastructure, soft or hard infrastructure, to sustain this momentum?
It's a loaded question, but I'll try to respond. First of all, I think what the EU has done is good for us. It's good for the economy. It will further assure those who wish to invest in Nigeria that it is probably an indication that some success is being attained in the fight against insurgency. I think that's, for me, is a major impact, or could be the major impact of that. But like I was saying earlier, we need to do certain things on the ground to also show that we are dealing with this problem seriously. I will address the funding from the US soon, but if you just allow me to quickly finish up, I think we really need to look at the police. I keep harping on this because some people feel that because we are going to have state police very soon, if the National Assembly passes the law, we don't have to take care of the federal police anymore. I think that would be very, very wrong thinking. We will still need a very strong federal police, given our geopolitical territory and especially areas along our international borders. We're also going to need the federal police for interstate crimes, because state police services will not be able to cross into other states to chase criminals. There are many other things. I don't want to waste time on that. But to have this strong federal police, I mentioned police mobile force, I mentioned the anti-terrorism police, the police air wing. I am surprised the Inspector General is not making a case for the police air wing. We have a police air wing. We need to know how many assets in the police air wing are still flying, We need to know the remuneration for pilots in the police air wing because it's competitive. Piloting is competitive. Can the police retain pilots? And then the police air wing should not be a unit that we see operational only when we have elections. That's when we see police helicopters in the sky. We want to see police helicopters in the sky 24/7, because this will also aid the fight against insurgency. So we need to revamp the police air wing. We need to revamp the police railway command. I have never heard anything about the police railway command. This is a specialized unit of the police that has been trained to provide security in our rail system. We are spending billions of dollars on our rail system. We are not spending money to revamp the police railway command, to retrain the police railway command, and to have more officers in police railway command. And we have seen that terrorists or insurgents have targeted the rail system. So for me, all of these units within the police force have to be addressed effectively. And you will see that it will enhance what the military is doing. Now, coming back to the question of the funding by the US, first of all, I think we need to commend President Trump for this, because he has been cutting off American support for virtually everything. And this has had tremendous impact in the international system, because the US is the largest funder of most of the international organizations and so on and so forth. So you could see the negative impact of that. But nonetheless, he still consented to the Africa Command of the US Armed Forces having $413 million. The challenges, however, are that this money is going to be shared among several states. They didn't mention the states, and they didn't mention how much each country is getting. So Nigeria is not getting all of the $413 million. So for me, that is an issue. Nonetheless, whatever is given is welcome. Just to point out before I end on this, that what the Nigerian government has spent of taxpayers' money in the economy of the US to acquire weapons is far, 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 far more than what the US is giving us. For those who may have forgotten, we bought a squadron of Super Tucano attack aircraft from the US for $650 million of Nigerian taxpayers' money. We spent over $100 million upgrading the weapon systems in the base where the Super Tucanos will be kept. That also went to a US contractor. So that's about $750 million US. We have also spent $600 million acquiring the AH-1Z Viper combat helicopters from the US. So in all, we have spent not less than $1.2 billion in the US economy to acquire the Super Tucanos and the AH-1Z Viper. So if the US is going to give us funds to support us, they should give us substantial amounts of money, because taxpayers' money have been spent also in the US economy. So I feel that if we can work on the things we need to do domestically for our police force, for mobilizing our population, and for enhancing the military, personally, I think we have the capacity to deal with this problem.
Okay. Well, General, you must be excited about the fact that Nigeria has spent $1.2 billion, according to Mr. Oluwake. I don't know whether you agree with him. And to also check with you some of the things that you heard Mr. Oluwake talk about, General. So how significant is that? Now, there's also that issue that has been raised in some quarters, that on the one hand, we have an excellently capable military, but then we had to invite an external military backing for one operation. I don't know if that's the only one. No one, maybe the government or whoever wants to confirm that to us. What are your thoughts on that? There are those who think that that kind of thing in a way affected morale, even though that exercise itself has been praised all over the nation.
Well, at this stage, first of all, let me talk about the $1.2 billion that were spent in buying things from the U.S. and, you know, the idea that the U.S. should do more. The truth is that we don't manufacture these items. We have to go buy them from somewhere. And if we are going to buy them from somewhere, it's not going to be our dictates. It is dictated by, you know, the country that is selling to us. When you have foreign assistance or foreign donations or some kind of relationship, is buoyed by the confidence which the donor has in your country. For instance, in the past, there used to be intelligence sharing when the U.S. African Command was based in Agadez in Chad and in the Niger Republic. So did we manage the intelligence sharing well? So there are some issues that made them withdraw from that partnership. Two, for the fact that we do not manufacture these items, getting these items from outside would depend on a lot of factors. Another one is the humanitarian law aspect of it. You remember that the United States government set to pause on the relationship militarily with Nigeria when the Amnesty International gave out a very damning report about the activities of our troops. I do not remember if there was any strategic communication by Nigeria government to debunk, that story of Amnesty International. That disrupt the confidence level between the United States and Nigeria. So in all of this, there need to be a strategic partnership built on trust and confidence. And how do you build that? There must be, a manifest revelation that you are doing what you are supposed to do. I want to commend him for, giving us a rider into some of these problems that are besetting our country, like that of the issue of police and, the issue of funding them well, and issue like revamping, the moribund infrastructure. Then again, you talk of, people talk of sovereignty, people talk of pride. What is sovereignty when the basic element of human survival are slipping away off your hand? I've said severally, like I said earlier, when this thing is getting out of hand, there is no shame in seeking foreign assistance. But you can agree with me, for the past 15 years, we have been on this counterinsurgency and counterterrorism issues. Various commanders coming with their ideas. Some of them work, some of them did not work. But the way we are, let's not kid ourselves that the morale of our troops need, to be raised. And how do you raise the morale? You raise the morale by a strategic partnership that will help degrade the growing strength and audacity of the insurgents. And I think that one is a welcome development. It's not about sovereignty, it's not about this. But again, back to my dear brother, $1.2 billion is grossly inadequate, to get exactly the kind of weapons and everything you need to do counterinsurgency. Work in progress. With strategic partnership, we can get it right.
Okay.
So let's not get it.
I think at least there is some kind of start, one might say. Dr. Ewa, let me come to you and ask this.
The confidence you need to build is very important. You remember the Lear Act in the United States Congress that says they should ban selling of hardware to Nigeria. These are because of the activities that are happening in Nigeria, which we must first of all put our house in order before we start to do engagement with foreign countries.
Thank you, General. Dr. Guinea, the president, Joker, referenced it earlier, has said, we don't have armed robbers anymore. We don't have bandits anymore. We don't have kidnappers anymore. We don't have insurgents now anymore. We only have terrorists. Anyone you manifest or demonstrate, you are a terrorist. That narrative, how effective do you see that narrative in the entire space, particularly from your experience? How do you see that narrative helping to address the challenges of terrorism, particularly in the hinterlands that we've had?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the other, Mr. Adebayo and General, you spoke something that I almost stopped you to say, please, can we just argue this? It's very interesting. I would say that the U.S. strike, the U.S. strategic involvement is actually diminishing or declining our sovereignty, okay? The amount given, whatever hate they give, is a tip of iceberg. In my opinion, I don't care about Trump. I don't care about what he gives Trump does not help Nigeria. Trump will want to help himself. He wants to help his base. He actually cares about his own political base and conservative region, and that's why all his suppression and all his expression is all about attack against whatever. So let's be very frank about this. The other part where we need to talk about is the part dependency and the paternalistic relationship that exists even in the defense sector. What is it about? How many times are we going to acquire weapons here and there? How are we going to defend and develop our own defense sector so that we are not totally dependent on basic necessity that we really need to get in touch? That can create industry for us ourselves and can also help us, for example, with the rest of Africa to support. It can be source of export if we develop our defense sector and invest in it. I will point this to you. Maybe you can also take care of that. In the next few years, what is happening in Europe is going to happen in most of our territory, whereby non-state armed group will take on drone and go to our airport to harass the government. And many of our local airports will be disrupted because this non-state armed group, they are continually investing in technology and they continue to constitute threat. So just on the look, you're going to see that happening. If care is not taken, if we don't go ahead of them, if we don't invest in our technology, if we don't make use of the young people, invest in them, develop their technology capability, build them together, let them turn this technology and to help to secure our nation. Apologies, Mr. Ayodele, I just want to highlight that in my expression. The second point you mentioned on the aspect of narrative going on that all these actors can be called insurgent, it's a great thing happening. It does have positive part and it does also have negative part. The positive part is most of the places I've visited more than 50 or 100 border regions across wherever Nigeria share border, from the northwest to north to central or to the other side. So I can tell you for a fact that it's important to really take this perspective for these people into consideration. And what is important is sometimes where people say they are bandits, community dispute that they are not bandits, they are jihadists. So, and there are issues of that nature. So if taking that position to help us to pose aggressive posture to be able to sustain the momentum will help us, that would be very great. And of course, that policy statement means that we are going back to our policy framework that says we cannot negotiate with jihadists, a group with ideological affiliation. And then that means if that happens at the subnational entity, then there's a cause for alarm. And that's why the Defense Honorable Minister was saying, look, it is not time to negotiate with this guy. So, and that is the guided position which can be sustained momentarily. But there's also caveat there. The caveat there is the fact that when we say we are dealing with insurgents, we are dealing with, we call it terrorists in our framework, or we call it jihadist insurgent, because of their ideological framework. So what I want to say here, the risk is we can overuse the military and then ignore the aspect of policing. And this is the risk. So because banditry, as you can see, it's also the occurrence of banditry and also the proliferation of bandits in this area is a result of lapses in our security architecture. It's a result of our distance between the policing system and the state and the people, and that's one of the lapses that the kinetic approach cannot address. It has to go more structural, as you rightly said, General, and also Mr. Adebayo. So these are the aspects that we have to look at. So if we call all of them insurgent, it's good momentarily to sustain the momentum, to be able to take the fight, as you can see that both in Kwara, both in Kogi, both in the northwest, both in the northeast, you could see the momentum right now, and our servicemen are really pushing so hard at the moment.
All right.
So this is the point I would like to highlight. Thank
you very much, Dr. Ogini. Very, very quickly before we wrap it all up, Mr. Lowake and General, you want to react to what Dr. Ogini said earlier. Mr. Lowake, you go first.
I mean, for me, the only thing I will add is that there has to be coordination between the federal and state government.
No. Just a moment. What he talked about when he was talking about the military, about us being independent in terms of our own equipment, manufacturing our own equipment, that we are over dependent on defense infrastructure from other nations.
I think it's a valid point, but I also think that we have seen some efforts to address that, even if they are not yet of the magnitude that we need. You have Proforce manufacturing armored personnel carriers, even MRAPs. We have the Army manufacturing the Zugu MRAP. These things are coming. They may not be in sufficient numbers for now, but we are making efforts. And I think there are policy issues now, policy changes to strengthen the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria to be able to, and I think they have a partnership with, I don't know if it's South Korea or which country, but I can see that there are already policy changes in this direction. The unfortunate thing is that, you know, we need these things like yesterday, and these efforts we are making now will take some time. I think this is being addressed, and I have to say that there's no country in the world, I'm not unaware of the fact that, you know, you don't, even countries that manufacture weapons, they still buy from other places. You know, that doesn't mean we shouldn't make efforts to you know, strengthen our own capabilities.
I'll come back to you, shortly, Mr. Oluwake.
Yeah.
But let me quickly take the reaction of General on that same subject matter. General, what are your thoughts? General, if you are speaking, we can't hear you. Kindly unmute. You are still muted, General. Okay, we still can't hear you, but we'll definitely come back to you. So let's begin to wind down now, gentlemen. Mr. Oluwake, you were going to talk about the necessary coordination between the federal and state governments. My concern is about the people. Do you think we have our eyes on the people enough? General has repeated his concerns about strategic communication. It's all about engaging the people. How well are we doing in engaging the communities, which are naturally mostly affected by these terrorism activities?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Oh, General, yes, we can hear you now. Very quickly.
Okay. All right. The issue of too much dependence on foreign powers, I think Oluwakemi tried to talk about it. You see, it's a policy issue. We have to re-emphasize our research and development efforts. And like he said, there is no country that has it all. Even in the defense industry complex, you see when you are manufacturing aircraft and ship, there are products that you have to also get from other countries in the manufacturing process. So we are not depending so much, but you don't give what you don't have. So all we need to do is to, encourage research and development efforts and put our policy trust on self-sufficiency. Like he said, we're manufacturing some level of weapons. But what you cannot get on the shelf is technology. And I don't think we are ripe enough to say we have the technological know-how, to put the leverage technology has in complex operations.
Okay.
So
thank you very much,
we need
General.
strategic partnership
Yes.
with all nations that are willing to do business with us.
Yes. All right, so we're winding down now. 1 minute to go around the room. Mr. Oluwake, you go first about the last question I asked you.
Yeah, I think the federal and state governments must coordinate properly. What I mean by this is, if the federal government is taking a particular position, say, for instance, we are not negotiating, then we don't want to see states going to negotiate. It sends a very wrong signal, both domestically and internationally. And I don't want to mention the state. Recently, there was another issue like that, and maybe it turned out to be a rumor, but it actually went viral. So that coordination is important. Second level of coordination with our neighboring countries. When the multinational joint task force was really working, when Niger, we had all this excellent relationship and everything, we could see the impact that these insurgents were really, really degraded and contained, But I think some of the political changes that have occurred recently in those Sahel states has had some effect on us, and that's why I believe we need to really go back and work, and coordinate with them. And if we can convince the foreign partners, we need to let them understand that they may not agree politically with the alliance of Sahel states, but it is in our interest in West Africa for those states to succeed in their counterinsurgency effort. Because if they fail, it's going to affect us. I think I'll stop there.
All right, thank you. Dr. Ogini?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I agree with what Mr. Olowo Ake said. I think it's important because from my work experience, if you know when the U.S. actually strike happened on 25th, before that period, a large number of Lakrawa group already moved to Niger. So the Nigerian government had to say, look, we have to beef up security, we have to mobilize people on the other side of the border. So before that happened, so eventually the strike happened, but it was not actually massively like the target is as much as it is. So what does that really mean is that we have to strengthen this regional collaboration. We have to work with the people in the border community. At the same time, one point I want to mention is that when this strike happened, it happened, for example, there was debris in Jabo, which is about 50 to 70 kilometers from Sokoto. Those farmland, the people there, were they compensated? How did the government treat that? Because counterinsurgency have ripple events. And one of the ripple events is it can radicalize the local population, and the armed group use them as a source of recruitment from our work. We've seen that many times. Okay. I think this is very important. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. General, your last words on this issue.
Yes, I think I'm impressed now with the concerted effort of the federal government, in the area of recruitment of troops, purchase of equipment, and there's also, a very, good level defined interagency cooperations. These are, ingredients for operational success. Then the issue of negotiation. I don't think if a federal government presents a policy, no subnational government should be overzealous to do its own. More so, they don't even have what it takes to do negotiation. Negotiation is a strategic content. They don't have the technical know-how. They don't have even the basic knowledge for negotiation with bandits. And all over the world, it's not an idea to negotiate with bandits because you only get some money from you and go back to reinforce the purchase of weapons and equipment. So the federal government should continue in enhancing the operational efficiency of the armed forces and the police, and look for better partnership with foreign countries who are willing to help us. And at the end of the day, we'll be able to get out of the woods.
Right. Thank you, gentlemen, for weighing in on Nigeria's counter-terrorism efforts. A robust conversation, I must say. Olowo Ogini, senior researcher at the Bonn International Center for Conflict Studies. Thank you so much for your time. Mr. Adebayo Oluwaki, consulting specialist, African Resource Development Center. I must thank you for your time as well as retired Major General Cecil Ese Haigbe. Thank you also for your time on the program this morning. Ayo, robust discussion, I must say.
Absolutely.
And of course, Sunrise will continue in just a moment. We'll be looking at yet another big issue, curbing indiscriminate waste disposal. And just come back and join us again, and we'll be seeing how you've been faring in your community and how you have been complying with all the rules and regulations of waste disposal, or have you not? See you in a bit.